Okay, so if you're trying to use the calculator to solve and evaluate functions, this is how you would use it and do the steps. That's the only thing that we would be able to use the calculator for on the test, or if we wanted to graph something and look at it, which I could show you both. So evaluating functions, he has access to this PowerPoint on his page for today, but you're going to use a calculator. You're going to hit the y equals button. You're going to enter the function after the sign. So when there's an example over here of us doing it by hand, the equation it's going to ask is f of x equals 2x plus 3 and solve for x when x equals 5. So if I want to solve for this, I would go ahead and I would type this part into the calculator. That's what it means by saying enter the function after the equal sign. After that, we're going to hit second and graph. It's going to go ahead and get that and put it into the calculator. And then we want to view the table. So we're going to search for the x value that we wish to evaluate for. So this one says x equals 5. Another way you might see x equals 5 is f of 5. Those are exactly the same thing. X equals 5, f of 5. That means evaluate for the function when x equals 5. And those are equivalent. When we take our test, and it's using function notation, you will most likely see solve for when it's f of 5 instead. So we're going to look for it on the table when x equals 5, and then our corresponding y value is the value that we're looking for. So right here. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to show you how you can solve these on the calculator. So let me go ahead and pull up my calculator real quick. Okay, so here's my calculator. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller so that we can see a little bit of everything at the same time. Okay, so first thing it says to do is hit y equals. So the y equals button's right here. Now we're going to input the equation that we want, 2x plus 3. And it says, this is what it looks like now. We're going to hit second and graph. So second graph. We're looking for when x equals 5, so go down to when x equals 5. And then we're going to go over, and that's my answer. Or it's going to be f of 5 equals 13, or y equals 13, depending on the format that it's asking. So I'll do a couple more practice problems so you can see me using the calculator. So let me go ahead and put my calculator aside. And so this one says plentiful pies determines its annual profit in dollars using p of x equals 65x minus 0.3x squared, where x represents the number of pies sold. So first thing it tells me is the equation that I'm going to be using is p of x, and then it says x represents the number of pies sold, and Plentiful Pies sells 175 pies in a year. So pretty much what that's telling me is the number of pies it's selling is 175. And since x equals pies, we know x is going to be 175. So there's an easier way to solve it when you do it this way, when it's such a large number. But I don't want to confuse you too much right now. So we're just going to go ahead and stick to the same method that we're teaching you. So you're going to go to y equals, which is the first button that you press. Hit clear to get rid of anything that you've already typed. And we're going to input in the equation that we see here. So we're going to input this exactly into the calculator. So that's going to be 65x minus 0.3x squared. Now that we've inputted that in there, we need to pull up the table. And see how it says table right here? That's why we're going to hit second and then graph. And now when it says 175 pies, that means we need to solve for when x is 175. Now, that is a large number, so you're just going to hold this button down until you get to 175. So we're almost there. And so it says 2,187.5. So my answer of P of 175 equals 2,187.5. And that would be my final answer. So if I had a question like this on the test, it would either give me multiple choice or it would give me a fill in the answer, and I would just type in this answer. Okay, we'll do a couple more. So I'm going to clear my calculator real quick so that I don't have to scroll all the way down from 175 next time. Okay, so the next one says Emilio is going to graph the function, and this is the function, f of x equals negative 2x squared plus 11. Which ordered pair should Emilio graph? So once again, we're going to graph this part in the calculator. But this is going to be a little bit different. So we're going to do the exact same process of graphing in the calculator. But when we look up our values, we're going to look up the x value, which is the first part of our ordered pair, and see if our y value matches. If it matches, that's the ordered pair that we're looking for. So we're going to go ahead and type in our equation. So to type it in, we go to y equals. We have negative 2x squared plus 11. After that, we hit second graph to pull up the table. And we're just looking for the values that we have here. So first, let's look at 2. And we want it to equal 7. But we actually get 3. So we know that's not going to be our answer. Then we have negative 1 and 13. So we're going to go up to negative 1. And 9 is not 13. So that's not our answer. Then we're looking for 0 and 8. So 0 is 11, which is not 8. So that's not our answer. And we're going to try for our last one. Our last one is negative 2. So we're going to go up to negative 2, and it equals 3, which is the answer that we're wanting. So that would be our answer. So that's how you would do something when it gives you ordered pairs and wants to know if it's something on a function. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and clear this. Keep in mind, since this is a pre-recorded video for you to watch for any help that you need, you can always pause or rewind and see anything that you might need to see over again. So our next one is not really one that you can use on a calculator, but it's about reading a graph. So what this is saying here is the graph of y equals r of x is shown below. Find r of negative 2. So you can tell right now that these are in the same position. So what that's saying is that x equals negative 2. With x equaling negative 2, what that means is I need to find negative 2 on my x-axis, and then I need to find where the graph touches it and what that y value is going to be. So this is my x-axis and this is my y-axis. So let me make this not as thick. Oops, I think I put a dot on there. I didn't. Okay, so I'm looking for when x is negative 2, which is right here. And I'm going to follow it up all the way until I hit the actual graph. If I go up, it's positive. If I go down, it's negative. So it touches right there. And that's the point. I'm going to follow that until I get to my y-axis, which is 8. So my answer would be 8. So what I would write on here, or fill in, or whatever, if it's a multiple choice, I'd pick the answer. I could put this 2 ways. I could put this as y equals 8. Or I could put this as r of negative 2 equals 8. Because as it says right here, y equals r squared, or r of x. So these are actually going to be the same. So I can write these, they're both equivalent. Okay. So we have, if p of x equals 5 parentheses x squared plus 1, close parentheses plus 16, what is the value of p of 11? So like I mentioned before, this is just another way of saying x equals 11. So what I would do is I would just do the exact same thing I did on the last problem. So, and you're going to have 2 questions like this on your test. The only difference is with the questions on the test, you are not going to have multiple choice. You're actually going to have to put in the answers. So make sure that you do know this process. Watch these videos until you got it down. Maybe write some notes for you to look over before you take the test so that you can memorize kind of what the steps that you have to do. So I'm going to hit y equals. I'm going to hit clear. I'm going to type in my equation, which is this right here. So 5 parentheses x squared plus 1 close parentheses plus 16. I'm then going to hit second graph to pull up my table, and I'm just looking for when x equals 11. So I'm going to go all the way down, hit x equals 11, and the answer I get is 626. So 626 is going to be our answer, which is answer choice D. Now, if it wasn't multiple choice, you would just type 626 in there. Now you can place it anywhere in the little answer boxes. The only thing that's going to be important is that if you put it in the front, you need to include a decimal so that they know that it's not going to be 626 million or anything like that. You want to make sure that it's including the correct spaces. So you can type it anywhere in the boxes as long as you're using a correct decimal point. Okay. Let's clear that out. And then we have one more problem, I believe. And this is going to be the hardest kind of problem that you see on your test. Now, when you see this on your test, this part's not going to be here. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to have some scratch paper so you can go ahead and fill something out and do it in the same process that I'm doing it. So what I want to do is I'm going to do the exact same thing I've been doing, but I'm going to fill out a table with my values. It's saying if f of x equals this and g of x equals this, which statement is true? So I want to know if my output of when x is -2 is equal to my output of g when x is 2, is my output of when x is 9 of x equal the same thing of when x is 4 with g, and we're trying to figure out which one is equal. So pretty much we got to find our outputs. So to find our outputs, we're going to pull up a table. We're going to type in our first equation, and we're going to put all the outputs that we want. So this is why I drew this table. After we completely do our first equation, we're going to do our second equation. And we'll put our outputs in here too. So let's go ahead and type in our first equation. First, we're going to go to y equals. We're going to clear out our prior equation. We're going to type in our new one, parentheses, x minus 1, close parentheses, squared, plus 5. Now keep in mind, which you'll see this on this next problem, if we have a squared already, but if you need a different exponent that's not 2 or -1, you hit this button right here, which we'll see when we got the blue. Now you're going to hit second graph, and you're looking for these values. So I see 2 negatives. So I'm going to start just doing them from bottom to top to make it a little bit easier for me. So I'm going to start with -4. So -4 is 30. -2 is 14. 5 is the next one. 5 is 21. And I'm literally just reading these off the table. So -4, 30, -2, 14, -5, 21. I've got to go all the way down to 9. 9 is 69. Okay, so we did our first one. So now we're going to type in our second equation. So we're going to go y equals and clear. And we're typing in this one now. So x caret, which is right here, 3, over to x at the exponent plus 3. Then we're going to pull this over, and we're going to look for our other values. So second graph, we're looking for 2, 4, 5, and 3. So 2 is 11. 4 is 67. 5 is 128. And 3 is 30. So like I said, we want our outputs to be equal. So we're just going to look at the same row that we've created because we created these the same way. And we're going to look for our outputs to be equal. So 14 does not equal 11. 69 does not equal 67. 21 does not equal 128. And 30 does equal 30. So it's D. So that's going to be the hardest one when it comes to evaluating functions on your test. You're going to have 4 questions, 2 like the previous one without them being multiple choice, 1 like this, and then 1 from a graph. So as long as you can complete those, that's 4 questions that you should be able to complete on your test. We will have 6 questions on domain and range. We have plenty of different PowerPoints and stuff that you can look at to review that. Since the calculator is the main part that you are having an issue on, hopefully this helps. Let me know if you need any additional help. You have a great day.